I heard all kinds of stuff about 9/11, and that it was an inside job.
Really?
Yeah, it was planned by the CIA and Mossad. They have proof.
And you believe that?
Yeah, I do. The planes were holograms, and the buildings were demolished.
But wouldn't it be far easier just to fly real planes into the Twin Towers?
Well, maybe. The government have advanced technology though, and there's lots of evidence that the towers and Building 7 were controlled demolitions. Witnesses heard explosions and thermite was found. There was molten steel at the site for days after the towers collapsed. The towers could never have collapsed like that, and steel could never have melted like that, just from jet fuel. The government planned the whole thing. It was a plan they implemented in order to begin imposing the New World Order.
Most engineers believe that the buildings collapsed as a result of the planes crashing into them and the resulting fire, not demolition, and that any molten metal found could have been aluminum, lead or copper, all of which were part of the building's makeup.
What about the architects and engineers for 9/11 truth? 1,500 signed a petition to Congress.
That is less than 0.1% of those professions. What do the other 99.9% think?
Are you saying there was no conspiracy? I mean, do you actually buy the official story?
Not entirely, no. But let's look at this logically.
How do you mean?
In order to create a false flag operation, why would the government need to demolish the World Trade Center buildings? Surely crashing planes into them would be enough. This would still be, by far the most audacious terrorist attack in the history of the world, whether the buildings fell down or not. But more importantly, the logistics involved in orchestrating 9/11, to make it look like a terrorist attack, would have been beyond anything ever attempted before, and would involve the complicity of many thousands of ordinary people. For such a plan to go so smoothly and remain secret, would be highly unlikely.
But what about the victims' relatives? They have a right to know the truth.
The evidence from ground zero is gone, and this theory can never be proven. This will not give any answers for those families.
But they deserve answers to what the government knew though. They knew more than they have told us. 9/11 was not unexpected to those in the know.
This is where the conspiracy theory has more substance. There are indications that US intelligence had knowledge an attack was coming. There are also indications that some stock traders were tipped off to move investments before the attack, although this does not mean those traders personally knew the attacks were coming. Tip-offs about investments can happen within minutes of a broker learning information that may affect share prices. But none of this really matters.
What do you mean? Of course it matters.
It cannot be proven that there was a conspiracy, but what we do know is planes were flown into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. We also know that this event has been used as a pretext for a illegal invasion of Iraq and the takeover of the second largest oil reserve in the world. We also know that it justified the invasion of Afghanistan and that in both these wars, nearly 1 million people have been killed, many of them children. We also know that we have been instilled with fear of a terrorist threat, and that because of this, we have allowed our governments to impose sweeping controls on our personal liberties and privacy. These are the things that matter.
And it doesn't matter that they organized it?
Whether 9/11 was organized by the US government or not, makes no difference to how the event has since been used by them and their allies. It is surely outrage enough that so many people have been killed because of Western governments deliberately misleading their own people and people across the world. And your freedom is being restricted because of it also.
Okay, I can see what you're saying. But the truth movement wakes people up to those things.
Are you sure about that?
I think so. Yeah.
Bear in mind that the majority of people do not think that 9/11 was an inside job, and with good reason. Why is a conspiracy that most people consider highly unlikely going to attract people to related causes? If anything, it discredits them. And as I've said, what is important are the issues that have resulted from 9/11 that you can actually do something about.
Like the wars?
Yes. And the results of those wars. The annexing of resources, abuses of human rights and the use of torture. The resulting cultivation of genuine hatred for the West, and encouragement of real terror threats. And the fact that our corporate governments are more threatened by their own populations than anything else, and so wish to control you in whatever ways they can do so. This corporate government control is made much easier when dissenters are already divided, and arguing amongst themselves.
How do I know you're not a shill working for the government, and just saying all this to divert attention from the truth?
And how do I know you're not a government shill? And how do I know that you're not someone trying to divide those groups that dissent against the corporate government?
Good point.